Introduce myself because this is the first Search Party podcast.
Yeah.
And so I'm Chris Keevil, but you know that. And I'm the CEO and founder of Versos AI, which is behind this podcast and behind a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today. And with me is John Wesley Chisholm. And we've known each other for 50 years.
I was going to say 50.
Were you?
Yeah, I was going to say maybe we could argue that it's our 50th,
it's our 50th
year knowing each other.
But I'm gonna try to introduce who you are. Let's see how I do.
Oh yeah.
You can get a shot at it as well, describing yourself. Okay. So John Wesley, I've got this written down.
Wow. This is price of admission right here. I love this.
You're gonna like this.
Okay.
John Wesley is a storyteller and the person that first introduced me to the idea of the fundamental structure of storytelling, which is the hero's journey. Now we're going to talk a little bit about this hero's journey, the John Wesley journey, in a bit. Now I would describe you as a musician, a composer, a diver, and a movie maker. We'll come back to the movie making idea, and I know we should probably say documentary, fact-based TV series maker, but movie for short. And like I say, I've known him for 50 years, and since knowing you, you've become a musician and a diver and a show producer. You're the owner and producer of Arcadia Entertainment. They're creators of amazing docudrama series like Hope for Wildlife and If They Built It Today. We want to hear about those. And over 20 years and hundreds of hours of programming, produced for National Geo, the History Channel, and shown in over 100 countries.
Yeah.
So John Wesley is a dad and a lover, because he's married to his love. He's a politically active citizen, which is maybe an understatement for those that follow him on social media. He has postgraduate degrees in business and economics, and he's an all-round curious, successful, and great guy. Now, it wouldn't be at all unlikely for John Wesley, with his kind of success, to have come from a wealthy family growing up in Southern California, surrounded by studios, the entertainment business, and great universities. But that's not where John Wesley comes from. So let's hear your story.
Well, that's a good segue. I didn't know we were going to go in this deep, but this is super.
Well, it's kind of the more interesting part.
I have a family story, and it's important so we're here in Nova Scotia. Both my grandfathers were Pictou County, Nova Scotia coal miners. So the Scottish Highland clearances cleared families off the land, and they dumped people here in Nova Scotia. My family, they dumped here in 1800. Over the next 100 years, my family accomplished nothing. They barely moved 5 kilometers from where the ship left them. And my grandfathers were...
That was the first 100 years, from the 1750s to the 1850s?
Yeah, from 18 to 1900. So my grandfathers were born around 1900.
Yeah, but your family wasn't unique in that way. You know,
no.
If the world's history was written on a 1,000-page book, then the first 977 pages would have gotten you to...
regular people who accumulated, accomplished nothing. Both my grandfathers were coal miners, so by the time they were our age... They were coughing, spitting, dying old men. My father, in grade 8, said, they said it's time to go to the coal mine. He said no, and he ran away from home.
Can I ask you a question about your grandfathers?
Yeah.
2 grandfathers in Pictou County?
Both sides, yeah.
Were they married more than once? Did they have more than one family?
No, this was, they were in the modern world. They had wives that didn't die.
Because the reason I ask is there's a cemetery in a rural part of Pictou County where I've got some relatives buried. And at a funeral once, I wandered off to start looking at some of the grave sites closer to the road, the earlier grave sites. And it wasn't uncommon to see, say, a a merchant marineman, a shipbuilder or ship owner, to have a big monument, right?
Yeah.
And on one side, it would describe his wife, Edith, born in 1854, dies in, 1872, and had 3 children. And then on the other side, and 2 of those kids died, and they're buried there.
Yeah.
And then on the other side is his second wife. He's 10 years older, and the woman is the same age.
Yeah.
And she dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly because childbirth was a leading cause of death.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it went.
Yeah.
You have to flip the story around. These 2 men, these grandfathers who were coal miners, they worked in service of a household. They worked in service of 2 strong women who ran everything
Life.
with iron fist, iron rule. It's funny, I've inherited stuff from them, and it's still, that's my grandmother's piano, that's my grandmother's this, and it came from my grandmother's parlor in my grandmother's kitchen. My grandfathers owned nothing. They didn't have bank accounts. These women, they defined the mission, the vision, and the success of these men was to what degree could you bring home the overtime without getting on the booze.
But was that
this.
much different for your parents? It wasn't much different
No,
for mine.
it was exactly the same.
Sure.
My father worked in service of the household, and that's just how it went.
Right.
So in grade 8, they said it's time to go to the coal mine. He ran away from home, ended up in Hamilton, Ontario. So 1947. He eventually got old enough, kicking around, in stockyards and stuff, that he said, I'm going to join the Navy. The RCN was a big deal after the war. Canada had the 3rd biggest Navy in the world. And so I'm going to join the Navy. The ocean is as far away from the coal mine as I can imagine. Now, he joined the Navy as a stoker, and that's a person who shovels coal on a ship. So it wasn't genius.
Yeah.
And that would have been that with his grade 8 education. But just as I was born, there was a fire on a ship, the Bonaventure, the aircraft carrier. Fire on a ship is a terrible thing. As an engineer, like lower deck person, he went into the fire that nobody else would get into, and he brought out 7 bodies and rescued 9 men.
Wow.
He got the Queen's Commendation for bravery. He gets, sent to see the Queen, whatever is involved. And the Navy, it was a big deal at this time, said, what do you want? And he was smart enough to say education. And they sent him to the Royal Roads Military College.
Wow.
He went from being a very young chief to a very old lieutenant. By the time I came along, he was the commander of the whole dockyard, the whole Atlantic Fleet dockyard.
Wow.
1,800 men working for him. And I need you to picture this in black and white, okay? He's as taciturn and dour of an old-fashioned naval officer as you can imagine.
Central casting.
And then go up from there. But we grew up in Waverly, where to me, the cool kids had a band called April Wine.
Yeah.
And they had long hair. And they didn't just have bell bottoms. They put triangle-shaped things in their bell bottoms to make them more bell bottom than possible. And my father hated the long hair. He wouldn't say jeans. He would call them dungarees. And just there was not going to be any long hair, no dungarees, or anything. So that's what I grew up in.
Yeah.
Okay. But here's what I did take away when I finally ran away from home. At 16, and I say I ran away from home. I really ran away from school.
Yeah.
I didn't succeed in school. It's not a place that appreciated me for what I was. Not going to go into it. But I ran away from home, and I always had this in mind that he ran away to the ocean, where it was blue ocean. It was open space. Nobody was there. And that carried me right through. So everything that you're saying about me is all just a series of moves of just looking for open ocean, right? A place where I don't want to compete. I hate games. Here's something I'll share. I'm a 60-year-old Canadian. I've never seen a hockey game from beginning to end. In fact, I've never seen any sporting event from beginning to end, ever.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's performance art now.
Yes.
but it's just there's something about rules-based doing of stuff.
Yeah.
It makes me tremble, Chris. It just
Right.
like, I need to be with a blank page. I need to be at a place where there's no set pattern or rules. Just here's a box of parts.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Talk to me about your introduction to diving, treasure hunting,
Yeah.
and the